You hear it?
Single guy? Like, what's the deal? Do you know? Do you know the situation?
I don't know. Hang on, I'm gonna go to the door. I'm gonna fucking listen. Guys, I'll be right back.
Dude, okay,
Going in.
let me know what the tea is. The tea in the shade.
Right back. Oh, girl, hang on. Smoke circle me back.
All right, reconnaissance. Go, go, go. Dude, that was some fucking tea.
There's a big fucking fly in here now. God damn it.
That's what you get for being nosy.
Welcome to High Tales of History, a history podcast where two sisters get high and surprise each other with a story from history's past. The weird, the wonderful. Hey, is that us? Hey, that's us too. We are also the weird and the wonderful. I'm your older sister, Laurel.
I'm the younger sister, Katie, who's probably the weird and Laurel's probably the wonderful, but you know, I'll let you sort that out.
Oh, I was just thinking we're both weird and wonderful, but I appreciate that. But
that's fair. Little bits of each. That's fair.
Yeah. Welcome to season 6. It's episode 1, also known as episode 103. Katie, we have just somewhat recently celebrated our 4th birthday for the show. We're into season 6. We are just plugging and chugging away in the summertime.
Chugging along.
And welcome to all of you. So season 6 has started a little bit late. Sorry about that. Huge life changes. As you'll notice, there's a different background behind me. I am in a different location, and you can hear the different location. I feel like I'm in the Brady Bunch right now. I'm like everyone around me is
right, looking around.
Sounds, like different sounds all over. Hearing conversations. I haven't been in a apartment for like 16 years. So it's kind of interesting getting used to like having life directly around you that you can hear. American apartments for the most part.
And the noise.
Insulated. Yeah. So
yeah. Which is wild to me. You'd think we would have figured that out by now, but nah.
No. America's like, no, we just want drywall and no insulation of sound. Thank you very much.
Isn't that higher in energy bills? Question mark. Anyway.
Yeah. Hey, welcome in. We are actually for season 6 going to be doing a little bit different setup than we have in the past. Last season, for season 5, Katie and I had we tried doing like a theme for each episode, like, hey, ancient Egypt or women's history, like a real broad theme. And then each of us would still be surprising each other. But within that theme, we thought maybe for our listeners that might help kind of group together topics a little bit more. You can like learn more about certain areas of time or whatever that might be. We're going to change it up once again for season 6 because we that's how
once again, we've changed our minds. So we're going to do it differently.
I mean,
no surprises
don't
there.
Put it past us to change them again. We don't know. So for season 6, we are going to have 10 episodes total versus the 8 that we've had before. And instead of us both doing a little bit of history per episode, we're going to have each person take the episode as a whole and do one thing per episode. We thought that actually might be a little bit easier for searching. I find that sometimes when there are 2 stories per episode, I feel like it can get, as much as I love listening to 2 different stories. I like podcasts in that format, which is why we started this like this in that same vein. But but I think when it comes to history, people typically like having just one thing to focus on. We're going to test it out. See what you think. Please let us know. We'll put it up as a survey or a poll post.
A poll.
Thank you. A survey says a questionnaire, a poll, a magic 8 ball. Do you like this? Yes or no? We want to hear from you. Katie, how are you doing? How has your summer been so far in life?
Chaotic, but we're here.
Here we are. That's good.
Battling, punching on with life, as it were.
Go get him, champ. Really. Get him, champ.
Thank you.
Really just trying to catch up with life, trying to catch up back with the smoke circle and the podcast again, trying to catch up with social media and things like that. I haven't posted anything over there in ages. So we're just really happy. I don't know. I'm really happy at least to be back and feeling like I'm getting in the flow of everything again.
We're gonna be here to like
Yeah.
welcome you into school season. So like as summer is
Yep.
winding down to a close, last vacations are happening, you're gonna come running right in with High Tales of History. So
Mm-hmm. Yep. Back to
gotcha.
school, back in class, but the coolest class. It's chill. It's very mellow. It's kind of hazy in here. But back to back to school with High Tales of
There's a lot
History.
of pillows.
A lot of pillows, some snacks. We got snacks around here as well. And yeah,
That's true.
speaking of, hey, Katie, what are you relaxing with this afternoon?
Pizza. Pizza and
Yes.
sobriety, which like I mean the pizza makes the sobriety more bearable, so there you go. It was good. It was Italian beef with garlic.
That
Let me
sounds like
tell
such
you
a
something.
Chicago pizza.
I could go
Say
on,
no
but
more.
let's not about pizza.
Say no more.
So I'm relaxing with pizza and sobriety. So, which
Right.
we all need it every once in a while in our lives. You got to check in with yourselves, champions. Laurel, what
Mhm.
are you imbibing in this evening?
Thank you for asking. I now in my new surroundings. Again, folks, where Katie and I live, we're not, we don't want to promote illegal behavior, but where Katie and I live, recreational use of weed is legal. However, I am in a
Mm-hmm.
new living situation, a new living location, and like there's no smoking. I don't know what the premise is. You know what I mean? Like I'm at the point where I'm kind of like
Yeah, yeah,
testing the waters
yeah.
of like where I can smoke and what I can, I
Because
was like,
sometimes
maybe
it's
I might
fine
go
on
out
like
to my
with an ashtray on like the balcony or whatever. Yeah,
Mhm.
I get you.
There's kids in my building. I don't want my neighbors to think that I'm just going to spark up with their kids around because that's not what I'm about. I don't do that. I don't do that with my own child either. You know what I mean? Like so I'm trying to like
Right.
be away from people but also like
Conscientious.
yeah, I'm a conscientious
Mm-hmm.
user. And
Absolutely.
so I went outside, but unfortunately how it ended up was that I was like, well, I have a little balcony. It's a shared balcony, but I'll go out my little balcony. And I just went in the corner so like no one around could see me. And I was just like I was taking the biggest, fastest drags off this joint that I made for myself. And then I was like, it felt weird. It felt wrong. It felt like back when you weren't allowed to have it kind of thing. Like, oh God, don't let anyone see you, you
Can't
know?
be letting anyone see this.
My neighbor behind me though, she's sitting outside. She's sparked up. She's just like chilling out. And I was like, so I know I got a
Oh,
neighbor
the
behind me.
ganj?
So she's got the gun. Yeah, she was chilling. Not when I was
Oh,
out there, but just in general. So I know I've got
but
like
you could smell
company
it.
in my vicinity. Oh yeah. So if it goes
Yeah.
up and out. Maybe I just go out when she does. So, so I could just like
There you
we
go.
could just permeate the smell for a while and then anyway. But yeah, so that's where I'm at right now. It's actually quite tough to be like, how do I smoke? Because I'm trying to like be kind and considerate of other people around me, and I don't do it if anyone
Right.
else is around. So yeah, so it's like trying to do that without
Or if
getting
like the
narked on
kids are
because
out
I'm
playing
not
or something.
here.
Yeah,
Right. Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
Right.
I like it here. I don't want to get kicked out. I'm gonna get narked on. So
But as we often say, the smoke circle is open to all, sober and otherwise.
yeah, so it's like if this is your first time with us hanging out, welcome for one thing. Welcome back for those of you who not only during the break, but you maybe haven't stopped by in a while. Like come on back in. There's always a spot open for you. You can have a cup of tea or a glass of water or the fattest
Ooh.
blunt you've ever done seen. Grab a spot in the circle. Because you want to know what really grinds my gears, Smoke Circle? Hang on, I got to
When
hang on,
people
back
put
off my
expired milk or dairy back in the fucking fridge,
dude.
when I
Yes.
go to pour creamer in my coffee and it immediately separates and like
Nope.
the rage that fills my soul at
Mm-mm.
6:30 in the morning because I
No.
can't sleep in when everyone else can. Anyway, sorry, that was targeted. Anyway, carry on.
No. Yes, putting back expired dairy and also, maybe taking up two parking spaces and also
Oh,
maybe
yep.
I don't I don't know.
Pulling one dish out of the dishwasher so nobody knows that it's clean or dirty.
Ooh. Do you have a little clean or dirty sign on your dishwasher?
No, we just text each other, but still,
Oh.
it's like, bruh, like, give me a heads up.
Mm. Mm-mm. Yeah, because then the dishes
We're getting
pile up in
better,
the sink, and you're like, "Well, is this clean? Can we even just take this out to begin with, or are we waiting for this to
right?
be washed?"
Or it'd be like, why
Hmm,
take one dish
it's
out when you
dirty.
can just put them all away?
Do that.
Despite me airing my grievances on the air, as it were, I adore my partner to the last molecule of his body. You better believe it.
Yeah,
Like, he
and
is
he is
possibly the greatest thing.
adorable. You know, like he
Yeah,
is. Yeah, he's great.
definitely.
Great guy.
Very handsome. But, I mean,
And that. Yeah.
obviously, we all have, it's about working through solutions together, champion. But the expired dairy, what the fuck?
That's
Yes,
what my neighbors are
exactly.
currently trying to figure out. Like
Exactly. I want to
we're
grow.
working through
Love
it.
means you want to grow together. That's what I'm talking
I
about.
was like,
Good advice here.
wow, we have got some philosophers, some loud philosophers in this building here.
Dude, he's going to tell you about it. He's going to
Yeah.
make sure everybody's relationships are on the fast track to success.
Mm-hmm.
So what grinds your gears,
But
Laurel? Tell
hey,
me. Air your grievances, girl. Speak to me of your woes.
I was thinking all these things that make me mad. But no, specifically, it's when history is erased. No, I'm not
And
talking
then
about like,
repeated.
mm-hmm,
Long, calculating look.
blink, blink. And I'm not talking about like lost or forgotten about history that's I mean, which is I don't think that's okay, but it happens sometimes, right? And that's a good thing about the internet and having a lot of
Sometimes
public
people forget to write
historians.
shit down.
Yeah, or like we don't talk about it as much. That's why with High Tales of History, we always originally the slogan was like history's vault, the weird and wonderful. We wanted to talk about the history that wasn't necessarily in the textbooks or the public figures that
Right.
you heard about all the time, or there's like the tomes written
Proceeds
about
to do
them.
Paul Revere in the first episode. Well, but that was
Well,
the
it
point, is
was
nobody
Sybil
knew the real
Ludington.
story.
Hmm.
Huh?
It was
Yeah.
actually Sybil Ludington, really, that you did the story on.
Yeah. Remember the dude who like walked away and faded out of history forever or whatever dramatic thing happened? I was like,
Yeah.
bro, I never want to fade like into history's like, what would you call it? I mean, I won't, right? Social media exists, this exists,
Right.
like people,
Yeah.
I won't fade, I guess, if that's what you want to call it, but like for real.
Yeah.
What did one my friend and I used to say? We'd be like, I'd rather go out in a blaze of glory than get by in mediocrity in life.
Well, I was about to say the rock god's viewer would say it's better to burn out than to fade away.
Fucking
So,
oath. There it is, champ.
mm-hmm. Can you hear me, Cleveland? That's my hair band. It's better to burn out than to fade away.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So this is not the history that like ends up in the margins, although like it needs to be talked about. Like I'm not saying I like that. I'm just saying like it really gets me.
That's not what we're focusing on today.
We're not focusing on that. It's actual erasure of history. It's when history's put through the shredder. It's torched in the bonfire. It's rewritten. It's defaced in a way, and it begs.
Woo! This is gonna be a hot topic today.
Mm,
I hope y'all brought your water.
yes, I got a big full water next to me because I'm gonna be taking breaks because I'm fired up. It begs a lot of questions, some of which, like what happens then when governments decide that the truth is too inconvenient or it's uncomfortable, or like we just don't like it, in order to
It makes us look bad.
yeah. And then entire chapters of a nation or a group of people's past, they're deleted, buried, rewritten. What does that also then say about power? Right? Who has the power? Who has the ability to do such a thing like that? What does it say about identity, memory of people, how we remember our past? And then really, why would you erase history at all? Why does it need to be erased, changed, made to make us feel comfortable? Why would we do that? I'm going to tell you guys. So,
woof. Laurel came out swinging on the first episode.
I'm throwing haymakers. I'm just like, eyes closed. If I hit you, it's not my fault, okay?
If I was punching on with life, you were punching on with, I mean,
Guys, I'm so
Good things that we
pissed.
need to know about. Yeah, dude. I
Yeah,
mean,
I'm so
fucking have
pissed.
at it. I'm
Okay.
just gonna sit back on mute and listen.
Please interject as you want to. And like I said, I don't do this topic to like bum anyone out, but especially for where we're at in America, like currently right now, we're actually seeing
Hmm.
it happen daily, and it's been going on
Yes,
for many months now. And living
very
through
much
that
so.
is wild. So, especially as public historians, because this is how the public
Yo.
views and hears their history,
Yeah,
right?
dude. I mean, it's
Yeah,
oral history is how we used to record it.
do that. Yes, and you know what?
Hmm.
If us we as public historians, as a history podcast, if we're not talking about these things, then we need to step
Who
our
is?
game up. Yeah, like that's
Yeah.
this is our job. This is our role. Like we are
As RuPaul
qualified
would
for
say, you need to
this.
step your pussy up. That's right,
Step it up. Okay.
dude. Yes.
Historical erasure. So it's more than forgetting, as I mentioned earlier. This is not like, oh, hey, we forgot about this or it got pushed into the margins. Let's bring this back up again. Erasure is a deliberate act of deletion. And there's been some books and many papers and journals and stuff that are written about this, either as it happens currently, as it happens in general, very specific instances throughout history in which it's happened. One of the books one of the resources that gets quoted quite a bit or brought up quite a bit is a book called Silencing the Past by Haitian American academic and author Michel Rolfe Trio. Trio. And Trio describes this erasing of history as like a very active and transitive process. Those in power are working to then like manipulate and silence facts at every stage, from the occurrence to the recording and then the interpretation of them and then the remembrance of it. Calling something fake news or going in and physically altering the facts,
Or even just saying it didn't happen.
saying it, yeah, full blown
Like,
gaslighting that
as
didn't happen.
outrightly as that. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
The Epstein files don't exist. Wait, what? Isn't that what we've been? Isn't that what
Wait,
everyone's
has
been
that actually
focused on?
been said?
Oh yeah.
My health is bad if no one
Okay.
knew. So, like, sometimes if I ask stupid questions, it's because I probably had some health thing going on.
No, it's okay. The Department of Justice recently came out at the time of this recording, came out and said, the Epstein files don't exist. There's no such thing. And
The
everyone's like, no,
DOJ?
the DOJ.
Bro.
Everyone was like, no, we know that they do because
Yeah.
that's what
You can't lie to
everybody's been
me.
talking about. And so it's like a weird thing to be like actively gaslit by your
That's
government
like
and by
saying
people in
giraffes
power.
aren't real.
Yeah.
I fed
Everyone's like,
one.
no,
I know
we
that they're
know
real.
it did. And then now it's since come out since then that they're like, oh yeah, by the way, those papers that didn't exist, Trump might be mentioned several times within them, as well as like many other people and stuff like that.
Whoa,
It's like,
imagine that.
what? Him? He's in there? What? No. There's a whole list of people that have done awful, terrible things to people. Oh, okay. What? But yeah,
We're all
it
rich
is.
and came from the same socioeconomic background? There's not a chance.
Weird.
No way.
Weird. So weird. Yeah, I mean it is, and that's exactly what happens with historical erasure. It's like the changing of it, and then like this like gaslighting and shaping what that narrative and what the recording and remembrance of that is. In Silencing the Past, Trio gives this example of the Haitian Revolution, as well as the discovery of the Americas, in order to illustrate that point about history. Not necessarily, what he says is it's not necessarily a collection of facts, but rather a certain narrative that can be constructed by those with power. That's his take on it. The Haitian Revolution. Katie, I mean, I know you're a history girl, so like, you might know about it now, but did you ever remember learning about that in school?
No, the only reason I even remotely know what it is because I did the History on the Caribbean episode, which woof, girl bit off way more than she could chew. And what was it in like 3200 BCE? I was like, oh fuck. Yeah, but yeah, I mean,
poorly. No,
I mean, I
it's a great
didn't though.
episode. It's
I
just a lot of
learned
history.
so much, but yeah,
Mhm.
I wasn't ready for the length of the history. But yes, that's the only reason I know about it. Otherwise, I would never have heard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Listeners, particularly American listeners, do you remember much about it? Right? Like, I think maybe it got mentioned, maybe, and this is me being like, maybe. I actually don't remember this at all. I feel like if it got mentioned, it was probably a blip, you know, if that, a
I
blip in
never
the
heard
history
about
books.
it in
Hmm.
history class, and like, yeah, go ahead, fucking call me a nerd if you want to. I paid attention in history class. It was one of the few classes that like I
Maybe.
actually did listen. So
Yeah, that's why we're here. Isn't that why we're all here? History class is one of our favorites, right? The Haitian Revolution was the only successful large scale uprising of enslaved people in Haiti. And enslavers in both America and the Caribbean didn't want their racial their ideas on racial norms that they had at the time to be challenged, and right, we don't want anyone else to get ideas and rise up against us, right? So they really downplayed the historical narrative of the revolution, if it was even talked about at all. Things got written about a different way in order to like to shove that under the rug. Let's not talk about that. And then something that we have talked about quite a bit on the show is the discovery of the Americas, the treatment of Native Americans, westward expansion, all of this, right? So when we're looking at the discovery of the Americas, it almost always omits the perspective of the indigenous peoples, as well as like the genocide that took place, right? That was always, it was justified, like what was manifest destiny, like
yep,
we owe it to the world, basically we owe
we're
it to God to
supposed to
like,
be here.
we're supposed to be here, we're supposed to be doing what we're doing. And then really when you dig, I mean, yuck, when you dig into the stories, the actual histories.
Especially of the Caribbean. They were so
Ooh,
heavily colonized by Portugal and Spain. That
Spain was,
honestly is what I took away the most from that History of the Caribbean episode, was how awful Puerto Rico had some of the worst of it. Puerto Rico and oh shoot, there was another island. They were just so heavily wiped
was it
out because
Hispaniola?
they it might
Or
have
no?
been.
Hmm.
They wiped out the native population so hard with forced labor, genocide, and disease that they had to import African slaves forcibly, I might add, which is human trafficking.
Hmm.
And so they had to human traffic in African slaves, I should say, to fulfill the workforce. So yeah, it is. I don't remember what number that one was, but yeah, the like that. And really what, if you're talking about the first contact with the Americas, a lot of it started in the Caribbean and Central America, i.e. Mexico, and they were just awful to, I mean, they just wiped people out. The Aztecs, the Incas, like all those people came under heavy fire because these men showed up with these crazy animals, horses, and gunpowder, fire, stuff like that. Like, I mean, they had fire, but you know what I mean, like the the how would you call it, like a fire.
The firepower, you're saying?
Yes,
Yeah.
pretty much. And like, whereas they had I mean, they had swords and stuff. They had blades, like the episodes where I talk about the Jaguar warriors and whatnot, and the Eagle warriors of the Mexica people, who are the Aztecs. Their real name is the Mexica people. I mean, there's just so much violence and so much like I know you call it manifest destiny, but such a this struck me when I was super young watching Disney's Pocahontas. When John Smith walks in and says, "Well, we can show you a better way." And she's like, "Well, what's wrong with our way?" And he's like, "No, you think it's fine, but like we can educate you." She's like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa. What you mean is it's not the way you do it, therefore it's wrong." And there's such a like
Hmm.
presumption
Yeah.
about which that story is problematic in and of itself, but yeah, there's just so much like, well, this is ours now because we're better, we do it better, this is our way. And it's like, um isn't colonization how we got to like the late stage capitalism that's destroying the earth we live on? Oh wait.
Yeah. I mean,
But
really, yeah.
I
And you
mean,
can take that
it
argument as
feeds
far as you
into it.
want, really.
Right,
Yeah,
yeah, it just feeds in, and
exactly.
it's just it goes so deep that you're like, "Why is this something that we all don't just, like, turn around and be like, what the fuck?"
hmm And I'm glad you bring those things up because that will be a recurring theme throughout my episode. Really, violence, it's not the exception. It is the policy, it is the language of colonization. I don't think you can look at any colonizing power across history that didn't use violence in all of its forms to at God at best subjugate the people that they conquered, but really like genocide in many
Yeah,
ways, whether it be paper genocide, paper genocide, like an erasing of a person's or people's history,
and destroy their
or
identities too. That's the
identicide. Yeah.
craziest part.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that I totally agree with you there because it's not like they didn't just come in and cause like, well, we're going to kill you, genocide. No, the especially in North America, they set up residential schools to literally kill the language, the history, the culture, the very identity of these people. So understand how important it is when you see any indigenous persons of the Americas, as well as the First Nations here in what we call the United States of America, those First Nations and Canada, because Canada was just as bad, how honestly, like, what a blessing it is that they even can still speak their language. They even still have the history of their people. Like, imagine someone came into your house, pulled you out of it at night, sent you to a place, and you didn't know what all these people are saying to you, right? Held you at gunpoint, and then they take your kids away. They cut their hair the way these people's hair is cut, and they say, if you speak your language again, we're going to basically beat the crap out of you. You can't do that. You have to do things our way, or you're dead, and that, like, I don't think people can fathom just how, like, down to the core, like, molecular level the erasure of people was
Mm-hmm.
in these countries, and it happened elsewhere too. I'm not just going to come at
Yeah.
this. I'm just saying in general, this is, I mean, we live here, right? So these are the ones I'm going to talk about because it's kind of, quite frankly, the one I'm more educated on. But fuck, this has happened all throughout history. Look at Rome. Didn't they burn and salt the earth and stuff? Like,
Yeah.
holy
Girl,
shit.
girly pop, keep it in your back pocket for just a second, because like we're actually going to take a world tour of terrible, right? So we're sort of,
Oh
yeah,
wow, I hope that, you
a
know what,
brief
maybe
world
I need a
tour.
half of them.
A brief world tour. And I want to highlight examples because yeah, like as you mentioned, and as I'm going to mention as well too, like yes, we live in the United States of America, and we are currently having our own erasure, especially like within these digital histories and digital archives, I should say. But this is not a new thing, when we're looking at history. I would say in Trio is looked at it like it's not necessarily historical fact, but it's or at least a collection of hard facts, because of that dichotomy. As I mentioned, you can say like, here's the record that the East India Trading Company wants to put forth, whereas like the Indian people would be like, oh, we got a whole another experience to add to that story, fellas, right? So, and that's just one small example, one large example, but one example of this happening many times in history. And yeah, I would say I would agree with that, right? And then also some historians say history is, like a quote, like a battlefield that's shaped by who tells the story and who is excluded, right? Like that's that sort of quote of histories written by the victors or the conquerors, right? And I'd say, yeah, that's rather accurate as well. I kept getting the visual of history almost like a collage. Like if you're looking you're looking at your workspace, you've got pictures and small scraps of facts and accounts and stories, and how you, the artiste, how you, the collage maker, want to weave that narrative and put your facts together to create the picture that you want. That's up to you, right? So these are all similar analogies, I suppose. I certainly don't think that history is equitable. And I certainly don't think it's neutral either. And folks, anyone, whether it's Katie and I or an academic with a shit ton of letters after their names, nobody is retelling and recounting history in a completely neutral lens. Something to remember.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Correct. We
And
can't. We're people. We're
right,
flawed. We
right,
physically can't.
exactly.
I grew up a certain way in a certain area with a certain education. I look a certain way. It's impossible to get rid of your own filter.
I want to point that out because if you listen to the show for any period of time, like I I want to say, like, I recognize that for myself, and I hope all good historians at any level recognize that about themselves, and that you, listener, as a receiver of the recounting of that history, can understand that, and then you understand, like, so for me, for example, I'm a little more left leaning. I understand that I'm going to be looking at things through um, class, right? I'm going to look at things for like marginalized people, through the women, the people who don't necessarily have their historical accounts in um, as fully realized
Laurel
or
loves a good
realized at
women's
all.
history.
Hmm. As fully realized or even realized at all in the archive, capital T, capital A, TM, TM, that sort of thing. So you know that, right? You as a listener know that and can go, okay, well, I'm going to run that through my own filter. You know what I mean? Like you can run that through your own
Critique.
lens and your
Yeah.
own filter and critique that. I always like to, when I'm reading back through my research and episodes that I write, as I'm reading it back, I always try and be like, okay, well, am I getting too far into one person's opinion or one person's account? And so I also then like to be like, okay, I might be talking about a marginalized voice, but here is the greater picture of maybe what was, the predominant racial norms or sexual norms or gender norm, whatever that might be, right? And looking at the bigger picture, be like, okay, and this is how the people around them thought, and this is why this person, you know, is maybe not in the history books or
Perspective.
his
To have a little
perspective's been
bit of
written out.
perspective.
Yeah, try
Yeah.
to add some humanity to it. Because I don't believe also in like writing out any one person or people's experience, whatever this quote unquote side, right? Like I really want my loyalties to lie with the history, the histories, and not like a left or a
And to
right
be as
thing.
accurate as possible.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
As humanly possible.
Yes.
Which unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. Right. So I want to like point that out, right? There's erasure and there's also like being able to understand if you're hearing, like really as I say things today, if it gets your back up, know that yes, I am, like recognize my filter and my lens, right? But also like I kindly invite you to like sit in it if it something makes you uncomfortable or gets your back up or gets you to be like, hey, like I don't like what you're saying here. Before you get mad, I want you to like kind of sit in that and be like, okay, well, can I put my critical thinking cap on for a second and be able
Or
to
just sit. I always say,
empathize?
like, when things. Yes. And when things, like, upset you, like, let it wash over you. And
Mm-hmm.
then ask yourself, well, why? Because I'm going to be
Why?
honest. I recently discovered that people with ADHD get a dopamine rush from being argumentative. So I'm being very self aware about that right now. And, dude, I didn't know that. And I was like, fucking
Mm-hmm.
One, what did I text to you today? The sandpaper dildo of life rarely arrives lubricated. That has been
Yeah.
my entire fucking like last 3 months. So
Mm-hmm.
we won't get into it. We just try to be better every day than we were the day before.
Yeah.
Self-hatred gets you nowhere. I'm just gonna tell you that. Another lesson I've learned from Rue. There are I'm sure there's more, but the two massive idols in my life, I am gonna say, are Steve Irwin and RuPaul. And I tell you, I've learned so much from these people. You have no idea.
Yeah.
And Genghis Khan, which, whoa. Anyway,
Speaking of historical
he,
erasure, yeah.
yeah. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, did he do historical erasure?
Yeah.
Oh, he did. Okay.
They wiped out
I
people to such a degree that we don't know the histories of some of the people that were conquered by the Mongols.
Oh, that doesn't surprise. Well,
Yeah.
that's interesting.
And then also what we know about the biological after effect of Genghis Khan.
Genghis
Then
Khan,
like
but yes.
Genghis Khan, yeah. in
Yeah.
terms of, right?
Where was I going with this? I totally side quested.
Word.
Shit, Laurel, what were you saying before that?
Well,
Help
I was
me out
just
here.
saying, like, my loyalties, they lie first and
Oh, I
foremost, or at least
remember.
that's my
I
intention,
remember.
is with the histories, not a certain political
Yes.
side.
So when things upset you, don't just turn them off. Let it wash over you. Take a deep breath. Ask yourself why it upsets you. Because I often find that when you figure out why it upsets you, then you start thinking a little bit deeper about everything. Would you not like it because it's uncomfortable? That's not necessarily a bad thing. Growth is uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Another thing I've been learning, sandpaper dildo of life. But it just like, you know, spending time with it does not necessarily mean you'd be like, oh, I'm going to be indoctrinated or no. Like, maybe you come to the conclusion that, like, no, I was right originally, and now I know why I'm upset. But at least then you can analytically look at it rather than just having an emotional outburst reaction, which means you're not thinking. Emotions are rarely logical. And it's super important to give yourself that time to work through that because that's when we learn. And
Yeah.
that's an important thing. And like I said, growth is not comfortable.
Yeah, I just invite us all to even if you agree with me as I'm talking about these things, to be able to sit in it and be like, okay, and be able to have those questions. Okay, like I've heard this version of history. What am I maybe not hearing? Oh, if this upsets me, what Laurel said, why is that? Things like that. I really want to encourage some of that critical thinking because we need it. We need it, folks. So when institutions, yes,
Listen, as the kids of today would say, Laurel, let it cook, sis.
let it cook. Let me cook. Don't crash out. That's all I got. That's all the hip, cool
Tiz
kids.
and Riz! Oh, that's me. Sorry.
That's all I got for you, folks. So, but when institutions, whether they be governments, states, schools, authors and publishers, when they are erasing or distorting records, they are able to then define what society believes about its own past. Now, currently, as I mentioned, in the United States, where Katie and I are, over the past 5 to 6 months, we have watched that happen before our very eyes in general, but specifically when we're looking at digital archives, because we are in a digital age and there's lots of information on the internet. Thousands of pages, thousands across many government websites have been deleted or altered under this weird executive order, and egregiously inaccurate guise of being anti-American. And I'm going to put my foot down. This is a hill I will die on. I can say it's egregiously inaccurate with 1000% certainty because the people and events that have been altered or deleted were incredibly patriotic Americans who love or loved their country and put it first. These are like American heroes whose stories are being deleted. And the only reason their stories have been deleted or changed in some way is simply because when you look, and this is looking at all the examples across the board, this is Arlington National Cemetery, this is Department of Defense, this is any of the museums across the board. They were a woman or a Black or a Mexican or Latino, gay, transgender, or indigenous. They were basically non-white men. And this is dangerous in so many ways because throughout history, both ancient and modern, the erasure of history has been used in a very deliberate way by very
Weaponized.
specific people. Yeah, and weaponized. So, guys, believe it or not, that's basically my intro. Sorry. We're going to roll one up. We're going to settle in. We're going to go on a world tour of some erased memories. And like I said, I'm going to keep this brief because you can spiral and get real mad. But
we'd be here all fucking week.
This would be a long ass episode.
It'd be like fucking Roots where it has like 6 VHSs.
So good. It's such a good show. Right. Yes. That's
exactly very, very good. And important. Again, history to talk about, but holy hell is it long. It's like the Lord of the Rings extended edition. I'm sorry, the theatrical editions do not exist. Yeah. Once you pass into the property line, my property line, my little square that I pay for, The theatrical editions actually physically do not exist, so it's extended or sit in my basement of doom, which is where we are now. It's not very doomish, but you get the idea. You have to go sit by the washing machine.
You bring over your DVD set of theatrical versions, and the moment you pull up the driveway from hell, or you have to it's getting ready to go up a roller coaster, and you're like, chick, 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 and you're like facing the sky. That's Katie's driveway. I kid you not. It is like you
and then you've got fucking stairs,
and there's more stairs on top of it. It's like she lives on a fucking crag, a mountain,
right? Dude, it's like something out of the series of Unfortunate Events. And like, even when you get up to the fucking door, there's a giant step up to it to get in, and it's like more than one person has almost eaten shit up that step.
Yeah.
But yes, then your theatrical editions just poof, vanish, and I'm
they're
like,
just not in your hand anymore. You're like, where'd they go?
Nope.
I don't know. Yeah,
gone.
Poof. Poof, like ancient erasure of history. Wow. The term damnatio memoriae, Latin, wink. It means condemnation of memory, and this derives from ancient Rome. So, damnatio memoriae is OG cancel culture, kids. So, when emperors like Mark Antony, Mark Antony and Cleopatra, that whole shebang there, and another emperor, Domitian, there we go, fell from favor, and also flavor. Ew, gross, right? Their names were scratched.
Not the flavor of the week anymore.
Not anymore. They fell from flavor. Take them off the chalkboard. No, no, no. Their names were scratched from any sort of inscriptions. If anything got chiseled out, it got chiseled over. If they had a statue, the face was fucked up, or the statue would just poof from existence and be pulled down. And this was more than a symbolic gesture sort of thing. It was a systematic effort in order to erase their existence from public memory. Because it's not like they had the internet, right? It's not like they, people might remember, oh yeah, Mark Antony was an emperor before, and now we've got a different emperor, and no one likes Mark Antony anymore, and they try to scratch out his memory. People might remembered at the time, but the history books and the actual record going forward would show that nope, we don't like that guy anymore. Let's take him out. In fact, actually, I was thinking while I was writing this up, I was like, we've had 2 references to history erasure just in the last season in a couple of episodes I did. So, for example, speaking of ancient Rome, this isn't ancient Rome necessarily, but Rome in general, Roman history. I did the last episode on the Cadaver Synod and how Pope Stephen VI, right? He dug up Pope Formosus. Yep. But at the end, Formosus was found guilty, and he's a dead man already. Not like, yeah, he's a dead man walking. No, I mean like he was literally dead and put on trial. And then he
was a corpse sitting in the courtroom.
Right, yes.
Like literally. They propped his body up, and he was like, fuck this guy. How everyone like sits by, and watches madness sometimes is interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that scene in Star Wars when Padme sits down and she says, "So this is how democracy dies," to thunderous applause. Mm-hmm. Boy, that has never left me. Ever. Mm-hmm. And I know we all have mixed feelings on the prequels. I feel you. I will hold you through it, because I agree. But there were things that were gold from them, i.e. Darth Maul, who's possibly one of the greatest Siths, and underused and, shafted. Kind of literally. Sorry.
Yeah, that's good.
I get it. Prequels are rough, but there were some very good points made in there. Mm-hmm. Just saying. Yeah,
George Lucas really liked his history. I mean, in that episode, after Formosus was found guilty, they put his body in the Tiber River in Rome to like physically wash the body away, but also the idea with that was to wash away the memory. And that practice harkened back to ancient Rome, where that was something that would happen sometimes too. Things would be defaced, but literally put the body in the river and let it wash away, because we don't want to deal with this person anymore, right? I mean, Rome, brutal, but they understood that to erase the memory was to have control and power over the reconfiguration of reality. Statues, they disappeared, so did they were smashed, coins were reminted, stone inscriptions, loop records rewritten after the fall of certain emperors. And that was erasure by design. That was something that systematically happened through Rome and other cultures too. But like Rome was particularly good about it. And we have all these records to show how many people have been scratched. Also, the same season, the episode that we did on Raiders of Ancient Egypt, and I was talking about Akhenaten, who was like the heretic pharaoh. So his temples were dismantled.
And no one would have found his, like, well, that, and didn't they, like, bury over his grave?
Yeah, things have been literally like buried over, scratched out. Hatshepsut also is a female pharaoh. She was awesome from what I understand. I really want to do a story on her sometime, but she was deleted from history as well too by her successor, who was like, it was her stepson, I think, and he was mad that she had taken the throne before him. I know, people,
Ready.
Hey, I wish I could tell you that the erasure of history only happened in ancient times when there were so many people that were conquering and expanding and killing and all the awful things as they expanded and de-expanded across the different continents. But no, it's very much a part of modern history as well. In fact, Operation Legacy was an actual government sanctioned, crown sanctioned purge of Britain's imperial legacy and the atrocities of the British Empire.
And of which there are many.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Not that there are by us either.
Right. Yeah,
those in glass houses.
Colonizing powers across the board do not have a leg to stand on in this sort of argument, right? So this is actually going back to just the 1950s and the 70s. There's plenty of bad stuff beforehand. I'm talking about Operation Legacy in particular. Those decades, British colonial officials systematically destroyed or concealed documents before they were handing over their former colonies, like Kenya, Cyprus, Guyana, Singapore, Malaya, Uganda. The list goes on. Different agents were
probably
burning
India.
files in literal bonfires. They were like dumping just crates, and just all these documents were weighted down and sent out to sea.
Didn't they do that with isn't the Imitation Game about that too? Like, don't they touch on that in the Imitation Game? Or is that just that isolated incident to keep the secret safe?
They might, I don't know, they might in the epilogue of that, because Alan
That's
Turing
when I
was
remember
gay,
it. I just remember them standing in front of the big bonfire.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it could have been. I don't know that for sure. But they also created like this whole coded series, like watch quote or personal quote, meant to disappear entirely. And their aim was to erase torture reports, forced relocations, any sort of coups, any collusion with paramilitaries, the awful violence across all these colonies, and mutilation, basically anything that would embarrass or make Britain look bad or expose atrocities to the world, right? So in Kenya, around this sort of time, in Kenya, surviving leaked files revealed mass detention, torture, and sexual violence. This is just Kenya. Documented evidence that forced the UK government to eventually offer compensation, because these people literally had the scars on their body to show what had happened. And that's just one. Sorry, guys. Three, we were talking about this earlier, identicide, like the destruction of identity within Bosnia. And in this case, we're erasing people via the architecture. In 1993, Bosnian Croat forces destroyed Mostar's historic Old Bridge, the city's iconic symbol of multicultural identity. This is like this ancient bridge here. The International Criminal Tribunal ruled it not a valid military act, citing its psychological impact on the civilian morale. Destruction of the National Library as well. They burned over 1.5 million books, which was considered one of the largest deliberate cultural erasures of modern times. Identicide targets identity pillars of memory. So we're talking books, buildings, cultural symbols. Yuck. Number 4. Myanmar's military stripped Rohingya Muslims of their legal citizenship, destroyed their villages, suppressed records of births and land ownerships. Their erasure was of the very existence in bureaucratic systems. So there's, well, which also makes like the justice of it all, as well as the recognition, nearly impossible. So when you're destroying records of people, this is something that's very common, is paper genocide. Legal scholars describe this as state engineered denial and unfolding genocide supported by institutional erasure. And then, like, also looking within the Americas at indigenous erasure, as well as LGBTQIA plus erasure. So oral histories of Inuit guides like, hope I get this right, Tukalito and Ipra Ervik. They were a married couple, married Inuit couple, who were written as Joe and Hannah in colonial logs, because like they're like, it's too, I don't know if it was like it's too hard to talk to like say their name or pronounce it or whatever it might be, but they're like Joe, Hannah. There we go. These are our guides. They were on the ill-fated Polaris trip or expedition to the Arctic, and they were the guides for the people there. They ended up saving the day. They like helped keep the crew alive, but were compensated a fraction of everybody else as the crew members, American crew members, and then all about like their history and their role. You know, their words were filtered then through colonial logs that took away their agency and what had happened. And this is, I mean, this is just an example, but because I mean, we're looking across other indigenous tribes through the Americas, like the census and land records for Native Americans, deleted, altered, which again creates that paper genocide. People are unable to go back and find the records of their people, like their histories. Who do I belong to? Who do I belong with? What is my history?
They weren't right? They weren't murdered if you didn't write about them.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to prove that a crime was committed if they never existed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, you got it exactly right, Katie. Then we're looking at any of the fine folks on the rainbow flag across history, right? There's the removal or the changing of pronouns. There's the just erasure of any sort of same-sex relationship, right? Like they were great friends. Alan Turing, right?
Since we brought him up earlier.
Mm-hmm. They were roommates. They were really great friends. She never got married, but she was always seen in the company of her best friend. You know, that kind of stuff. That gets, I mean, that still happens across the board. They weren't gay. Oh, yeah. They were just best buds for life. And I'm sure they were best buds for life, but like also like, let's talk about them like as a couple and like what their identity was together. And that, you know, that sort of impact there. Like it doesn't hurt anybody to say, you know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe that's just, okay, maybe I'm getting a little too lefty. Sorry. But like these are some
It depends
examples.
On your point of view.
Shouldn't hurt anybody to know like, oh yeah, they're together. It's fine.
Well,
yeah.
Yes.
But well, I should say it doesn't hurt anybody. I mean, I know like it could hurt the people involved, right? I don't mean like if it hurts your feelings to know that love is love is love, right? Like that's a whole different thing. But if it puts the safety of the actual people in question at risk, then yeah, I suppose whatever. That is a different take to put on that.
We can only fight so many battles today.
But anyway, but those are just some examples. But of you know how that's happened across the world. This is not a uniquely American thing or a uniquely British thing or uniquely European thing even too. I mean, this is kind of happened throughout time and throughout many different lands and civilizations. With the Cold War and with Stalin and the Soviet Union, Joseph Stalin really loved some airbrushing and a scalpel to remove certain people and things from photographs. Stalin, if you don't know, folks, he had a team of people that would doctor photos to make sure that the records of going forward of certain people would reflect exactly the narrative that he wanted. I will put up here, I'm not sure, depending on how I have to edit it, if I have to put up one picture at a time or if I can just put them all four up side by side. But one very popular example is a lot of the people that he had around him that were his closest companions and those that were part of the party were they just disappeared over time. They were
I was gonna
killed,
say,
but
didn't
they were
he
literally
like
taken out
get
of the
rid of
photos.
them?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
they
really
were killed.
interesting to me. It's like true sociopathy. Well,
Mm-hmm.
psychopathy, really, at that point, when you're
Mm-hmm.
like, well, it's crazy. Like, history doesn't often spend time on what a monster Joseph Stalin was. He reminds me a lot of Kim Jong-un.
These are dictators, right? Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Authoritarian rule is bad. Extreme rule of any kind is bad. Like this does not work out
It's
well.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because yeah, you're right. Yeah, dictators don't need to be the only ones that do that erasure. Because democracies do it too sometimes. Yeah, Katie.
Wait. So,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. Are you ready? It's gonna happen. You guys, it's gonna happen. Okay. He said, come with me, Gandalf. Together, we can use this power and become the most powerful. Be like, I know there's only one Lord of the Ring, and he does not share power.
There you go. She's got to get her
Listen,
Lord of the Rings reference in, guys. That's what's got to happen. She's got to feel it. It comes to her.
It's so,
and she speaks it.
It's so, what do you call it? Relevant. It's relevant. That's
Okay.
the word I'm looking for. It's so relevant because absolute power corrupts absolutely. All right.
Welcome to the break there, intrepid traveler of history. I have some orange slices and some electrolytes to replenish your brain and body with. I don't know where I'm going with this. Hey, I'm so glad that you're here. Welcome to the Smoke Circle. Welcome to season 6. And if you've been enjoying what you've been hearing so far, please make sure that you have given us a like or a follow or a subscribe or whatever it may be on the platform in which you're listening to us on. And that way, you'll also get a reminder as to when the next episode comes out, so you won't miss any more future episodes. And we've got a big back catalog too, folks. We've been doing this for a little over 4 years now, so there are a lot of different episodes on a lot of different kinds of history. So you can scroll back and see what we've got from our past, about the past. And we would really appreciate the follow, as well as, a rating or a review. All of these are things that really help our little show grow and get into the eyes and ears of more people like yourself. If you're looking to connect with us a little bit more, we're over on social media. We're on Instagram at High Tales of History and on TikTok at High Tales of History Pod. All of our social media handles are in the show notes below, directly linked, so they'll take you right there. And we also have a Patreon. We call it the Best Buds Club. Over there we have historical movie nights, and which we are watching some historical movie and chatting about it. Historical recipes. We've got some bonus episodes. We've got interviews with some of our amazing guests that we've had. So go on over there and take a look. It's free to sign up. And then if you want to join at any paid level, then we've got that for you too. But it's a nice way to keep in touch with us and get a little bit extra High Tales of History in your life. Coming up in part 2, I'm going to be moving it forward into some present history, present erasure of history, I should say. And with that, let's puff pass it on to part 2.
And not just dictators do it. I mean, sometimes the places, the countries that we think of as stalwarts of freedom and liberty and democracies, they are doing it too. Crickets in the background. So this is a little bit more modern history.
My chair squeaked.
I'm just letting you know.
He's like,
if you get your back up about this, I have sources. I have the proof. I have watched it happen with my eyes. Not that I am the end all be all of information and fact, but this is currently happening, and we're being gaslit to be like it's not. But there's a paper trail, folks. So anyway, first one being back in 2017, there was the Women's March. The National Archives exhibited a photo during this Women's March, and they were blurring out signs. One of them said, "God hates Trump." They deleted out Trump. They blurred over it. One of them was referring to what was it? Is it Hollywood Access or Entertainment Tonight? Whatever that really scandalous interview was where he was talking about grabbing women by the pussy.
It's one of them, but yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Right.
So some of these protest signs were referencing that and had the word pussy or vagina on there, or again, if his Trump's name was on there, that was blurred out, which is interesting. But they were claiming this is like appropriateness, and they were like covering it up in the archives in the museum. And there was a lot of backlash for it. They're like, no, don't censor anything, right? Like, don't censor this. So both historians and free speech advocates were like, this is censorship. And it got to the point where the National Archives were like, you know what? We made a mistake. We messed up. We apologize. We want to gain back your trust. And they replaced the photos with the originals. You'll see actually that happens a lot. And really, I guess I should say, like, folks, as we're going through this and you're like, oh my gosh, I had no idea what this was going on, or what do I do about it? I just be chirpy, I think is the best thing you can be. Like, chirp up,
be the squeaky wheel.
Because that was the thing that saved
when
these
people
histories.
go silent. Correct. When people go silent is when it is allowed to happen. Silence is oh God, what's the word, Laurel? Yes. Thank you. Yes. Yeah. Essentially. You got it. Silence is you not speaking up about it, is basically saying you're okay with it, because otherwise it will be lost to time.
Yeah. So in all these things, or most of these things that I'm going to be giving you, these like modern histories here, these things were indeed deleted, altered, changed in some way. In most cases, they were taken down, deleted, like 404 page not found across the board for all these things. If you go back and you see them now, it's because people spoke up and said, absolutely the fuck not, restore it. And so these things are back up again. Again, not across the board, or they've been put back up again, they've been altered. There have been some, like, people have been like, oh, this was a sentence that used to be there, but not now, or things like that, or this person's identity has been changed in some way.
Dude, you know what it reminds me of? It's like when, here you go, I'm going to make not a Lord of the Rings reference for you guys.
1984?
It's like when, no, I was going to say when Slughorn changes his memory about when he told Voldemort's about Horcruxes.
That too. Yeah.
Reference.
Got you. Yeah.
But like, seriously, they're like, well, but the thing is when he's trying to undo the evil of this big baddie, this dictator, right? And I'm not talking about a hot goth baddie. This is a baddie, like villain. It was harmful because, like, I think Slughorn says it. He goes, I'm afraid I did a great deal of harm that day, but to undo what was done, they had to find the real memory. And by him making a fake memory, like, it basically, like, they could never have undone it, right. Whatever. So I know that's kind of a little bit of an obscure reference or whatnot, but anyway, I just know a lot of people grew up reading those books, and regardless of how you feel about the series now, it was something that was super present in our culture growing up. Sure. And there's these moments that, like, really can connect to you to teach you why in real life these things matter. You know what I mean? Beat your baby's Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. Sorry, I say 1984 because I've started reading that book currently. It's a very popularly manned book, but I am listening to it, and it's amazing because the main character works for, I hope I get this right, the Department of Truth, I think it is. And they're literally given histories, newspaper articles, like they're given information. And whatever's on that, the main character and those in his department are retelling it. So they're speaking it into like a little microphone, and they're changing it as they go. So it could be something like, oh, production of shoes was only, I don't know, 200 pairs of shoes made or something like that. And he would go back and go, 2,000 pairs of shoes have been made. And then he narrates, like, meanwhile, people hear this and go, oh, we have an overproduction of shoes, but their children don't have shoes and they're walking around barefoot. Like, there's such the reality doesn't meet up, He fabricates an entire story about a war hero that, and then he passes it off into the public. Like, that's his job.
That never existed.
Never existed.
Yeah.
Like, and that becomes, and then the old history, or the real history in that sense, the truth, goes down to like an incinerator. It gets destroyed, and only the history that gets spoken by this department of like fiction creators, basically, like these truth adjusters, they that's what gets
Is this a
passed off.
fictional or a real life account book?
The scary thing is, so many things about it are actually like real.
Well, sure,
real
you
life.
base it off of real life, yeah.
Mhm. It's an older book.
I mean,
Was it written in like the 50s? I can't actually remember. I'll look it up real quick.
well, that
But
makes
was
sense if
written-
it's the 50s or 60s, because guess what happened right before that in the 40s? World War II. You know what
Mhm.
happened during World War II is, you might have heard of this guy, Adolf Hitler.
1949
He,
was originally published.
Oh,
Mhm.
well, that is so accurate from what I'm going
Yeah.
to say. They physically destroyed records of German economics,
Mhm.
and they re-released them. Like, even today, they don't have the real ones because they destroyed it and put fake numbers in there to inflate Germany's economy, to make it look like, well, the Nazis were in power during that regime. Their
Mhm.
economy was booming.
Mhm.
That is something, you know, where I learned that was in German class. Make sure your children learn foreign languages.
Mhm.
It was just fun, and it was good, and I made a lot of friends, and and I loved it. Like, again, another love of history came from that class as well.
Mhm.
Because as you can tell with Germany's history, obviously that's a well-known thing, is during World War II and the Holocaust and all that. Like, you have to go over that. The Die Welle, like you were talking about, that's
Mhm.
taught in that class.
Yep.
So it's just amazing. It's such a good thing to know. But there's another example of this false inflation of that again. Like, they were, because it's from like 1933 and on, these like exorbitant numbers start coming out of nowhere, and they're like, hold on a second, but weren't people starving in Germany if they weren't like, yeah. So
Yeah,
there's
look how
another
good you
example.
have it under the Nazis, sort of thing. Under this party.
Exactly, because
Yep.
they're so great.
Right. Yuck.
Art thieves and destroyers.
Yeah.
Bastards.
And speaking of like information, this is just one of many atrocities, but back in is part 2 of the history of sex. I did that. I didn't do that with you, Katie. I did that with my
You did
bestie,
with Kelly, yeah.
But
I was probably dying of something.
Poor thing. But I was speaking about. I'm doing this off the cuff, folks. So I can't remember the name exactly. So you're probably screaming it at your device right now. But there was an institute. It was like a sex institute, and they were the foremost in sex and gender studies. They were really taking care of trans folks. They were doing lots of studies on transgender people, and helping with their gender affirming care, giving them a place to stay. It had so much research, so much, and the Nazis burned it to the ground. And I think just even in that, like how much more information we'd have, and studies to be able to support the LGBTQIA plus community, right? And that was just at this
There's
time
been a
in
lot,
Germany, right? So
like specifically that. Yeah, I didn't actually know that. I'm super glad you
Mhm.
told me that. There's
I forgot the name of it. The doctors had to go into hiding.
There's a lot.
They were killed. Like a lot of them were killed. Like a lot of people were.
Of course,
a lot of people were killed.
Of course, they were.
Millions.
They couldn't be around to tell the truth.
Mhm.
That just wouldn't fit the agenda.
Right.
So know that when I laugh at these things, it's in pain and discomfort. It's the
I know, the
tism.
same.
Okay, sometimes we don't all cry. Okay, we all have different reactions. Anyway, yeah, it's like, or I mean, just to expand upon that, our own country gave the idea for the final solution with, is it nugenics or eugenics?
It's eugenics. Yeah. Yep.
Eugenics. Thank you.
Eugenics. Yeah.
Where
It's EU.
yeah, the United EU eugenics. Okay. Well, I always call it new, and I always get corrected. But again, my memory's only so. That would be traumatic brain injury for you. But anyway, so the United States was trying to get rid of our infirmed and disabled, mentally, physically, all that, by sterilizing them. He came over here and saw what we were doing. He took a tour of that, and he was like, "Oh my God, this is a great idea. I know how we can get rid of our Jewish problem." And that's where it came from, the United States. So
the Nazis actually saw the United States and George Washington this might get some people mad, but this is you can find the history on this. This is not made up. This is not like,
no.
Revisionist history.
I found this out
they-
back in like 2015.
Yeah, they looked to the United States and George Washington and American history, and especially as America told its history, as it reflected on its enslaving past, the systems that were created with that, Jim Crow, like all these things were loved and held up by the Nazi party. It's like, hey,
building blocks.
That's a great idea.
Building blocks.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't just do it with the United States. They did it with Norse heathenry. They took Norse heathenry, Thor, Odin, these gods. So this is why you have to be really careful with that. Today, it's a symbol of white supremacy because they took them and used them. There's a whole branch of it that was created in, what was the Nazi headquarters with the, like, SS bolts, like, on the tiles of the floor. And, they
like
took
Eagle's
Norse
Nest,
heathenry.
that sort of thing? Or just
something like that, yeah. And they
command in general?
rewrote something like that. Yeah, it has a name. I'll find it and I will, I'll do a TikTok on it.
Here at the bottom. And then you can do a TikTok on it as well too.
Okay, yeah, we'll do that definitely, and I'll definitely get that to you because I know exactly where I was researching that topic. So they were talking about how it's good to have white, pure European children, i.e., Aryan race, right? And that's why Thor is blonde hair, blue-eyed, all this stuff. Like, they were seen as the pinnacle of European perfection. And they said that, like, basically these guys are descended. It's like something like crazy, like they were descended from Odin or Thor. And like this whole, so they took the Norse god, yeah, pretty much. Well, here's the thing, is it's still done today. So watch out. If you're getting in Norse heathenry or any sort of paganism, please be so careful because they will mislead you. There's the FFA, so folkism, stuff like that. Don't do it. Stay far away because they will preach to you that it is like, it's European supremacy, basically what I'm going to tell you. And the Nazis even took it, and that's where it began, was there. And they started that. So they, not only did they they just took and bastardized everything, right? And obviously built upon systemic institutions that were put in place, like you said, with the Jim Crow laws and stuff like that. They took a lot of that for building blocks for their ideas and stuff. They did it with a lot of things. It's why they stole art and stuff like that, because they wanted everything to reflect their perfect image of what Europe should be. So, they did it with everything. Basically, what I'm telling you is Nazis ruined everything. White supremacy ruins everything, too.
Yeah, like, indeed it does. It really does. And thanks for bringing that up. That was something I was unaware of. But hey, you know what? Thanks for bringing your knowledge and your experience to the topic here because, I wouldn't have known that.
Thank you. Sorry. Didn't want to sit on the soapbox. I just think this information is important for people to know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. That's the thing. You don't really know until someone points it out to you, or at least like can point out the ways in which it can be harmful. And then you run it through your own lens and,
I didn't know until I got more like into the community, and then people are like, yeah, it's just really interesting. It's amazing to me sometimes how blatant things are. There's a organization called the FFA, and what they'll do is they'll set up like food pantries. They'll get into your community, set up food pantries, do all this good for the community. But if you read through their laws of stuff, they said it's marriage is between a man and a woman, and to have families of white children and all this stuff. And you're like, whoa, hold on a fucking second.
Holy shit.
That's not okay. Yeah, it happens all over the world today.
Yeah, sadly.
Be on the lookout for it, people.
Hey, we're waving the flag, the red flag over here. And yeah, I mean, talking more about the, bringing it back up to today in 2025 and actually in early 2025. So starting in February and March, frequently, and this is because I have my finger on the pulse of public history, right? Like I'm friends, I'm internet friends, I'm connected, I should say, to people that are working in an academic space or a public history space. I'm working with other history content creators, people who are Their interests are in different areas of history as well too. And also living in America, I know a lot of people that are doing a lot of like American history content, right? And there's the buzz of, do you guys see what's happening over at the XYZ website or this website or Smithsonian or over at the National Archives? And it was every single day, February, March, particularly a lot in March too.
I'm connected in the way that you are also connected and like interact with them like also on my own accord, and a lot of quite a few friends in Germany, by the way, and so like a pulse on what's happening there and all that. And it's just like, again, we're all history nerds, right? So we're all like, did you guys see this? Like, it's wild to be living history. I thought COVID was as wild as it was gonna get. Boy, was I wrong.
The fatigue, man, of constant big history happening around you, right?
Fatigue, dude. Fatigue everywhere. Chahos and fatigue.
Hang on, I want to pull this up real quick because so many executive orders were issued at the beginning of 2025, like a dizzying amount, and there were huge changes attached to nearly all of them. A lot of organizations and institutions, they immediately acquiesced to these orders before any sort of like start happened to him. You know what I mean? It was almost like a way to kind of like show belly, be like, okay, please don't cut our funding, or please don't come target us or come after us in any way. And that in and of itself is very scary to me, that there was such an early and immediate acquiescence to some of these executive orders. And there's one in particular, number 14253, is titled, and this is a very problematic title, Restoring Truth and Sanity to American History, which in its name implies that history is not sane, is wrong, is altered or manipulated in some way, which, yeah, sure.
So are they going to start talking about the genocide of the First Nations then? Or for it to be insane, you would be not telling the truth, is what I am saying. I am satirically replying to you. I apologize.
No, you're good.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's like, yeah, we don't want anything that is quote unquote shameful or as a divisive narrative and quote improper ideology. What is that? What
so anything that disagrees with us.
Right. Which is really,
that's what that
really
means.
Disturbing.
If it disagrees with my agenda, it's not happening.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly what that means.
The order specifically targets any federal agencies, so across the board, from the Department of Justice to the Smithsonian Institution to the National Archives, specifically targeting content related to race and gender in museums and national parks, and directs the Secretary of the Interior to reinstate monuments and statues removed since 2020 that are deemed to have been improperly changed or removed. So what it does is it allows, it lays on a groundwork of what an administration says is American or is proper ideology. The Smithsonian Institution has 21 national museums in DC. And there are museums from air and space to American history to African American history to the National Zoo to the National Portrait Gallery to there's a women's history museum that doesn't have like a physical location yet, but that is, as far as I understand, but that is going to be something that is a part of it, as well as like the John F. Kennedy Center. These are all targeted because of what the administration believes might be improper ideology in this,
or divisive.
Divisive, yeah. And like I said earlier, a lot of the stories that were erased. Now, this is so museums have actually. There was a time where museums were papering over those histories then, especially transgender history. And certain parts of it were being papered over, and people were like, well, wait, where is this whole section on this or that, or like what's going on? And again, people got chirpy about it and spoke up and were like, no, we're not okay with this. Don't paper over history, even if it's uncomfortable, whatever the history may be. Like, don't censor over it.
History shouldn't be censored.
Right.
Just shouldn't be.
And what happened across the board was especially again in these digital files, these online websites, thousands of pages were taken down or altered. And people were like, wait, what? The big one was the Department of Justice had taken down their websites and information on the Tuskegee Airmen, as well as women in the Air Force, like the WASPs, women in the military. And these are,
Isn't
like
that like a source of great American pride?
Right. Yeah. Iwo Jima, the Navajo
What?
code talkers, right? Like these are
Mhm.
heroes in American
Whoa.
history. Oh yeah. No, I'm not
Yeah,
kidding,
they
Katie.
are.
Yeah. As well as Army Major General Charles Calvin Rogers. He was a Black Medal of Honor recipient. And people were going to the page, and it was 404, page not found. And people were like, what? Why are you taking down these photos? Arlington National Cemetery did the same thing. They took down some of their social media posts because they weren't in line with whatever the sanity of American history, whitewashing, erasing, rewriting, of American history is, right?
God forbid this is a
Sorry, I was
country,
getting
a
little sassy
melting
there.
pot.
But if you want to support a pro-American patriotic or national lens of your history, which I don't think you should,
I
right? That's
thought,
my personal opinion. But if that's what a group of people want to do,
right.
they made it very clear about who they include in that narrative. And it's only if you are a patriotic white man, which is what that says. These
Mhm.
pages, if you go to them now, folks, these pages, most of them, or at least the Tuskegee Airmen, the Navajo Code Talkers, they have been restored. I don't know if they've been altered necessarily, but they have been restored because people were
Mhm.
like, what the fuck? And
What the fuck is right?
yeah, the reasoning, people were like, oh, no, sorry, we've restored them. What happened was there was basically an auto purge. And so what happened was a bunch of keywords got
Oh,
put
you
in.
mean like when Facebook was down for that certain amount of time when they were purging all their information they weren't supposed to have? And Instagram. Remember that when they were down like 2 or 3 years ago?
And even, folks, even the Enola Gay, the airplane that the atomic bombs on Japan, the Enola Gay
Yeah.
was the name of the airplane. That got taken down because gay was in
Mhm.
the title of the airplane.
Are you fucking kidding me?
They restored
Okay,
that.
at this point,
whoops.
what the fuck?
So I know I'm getting a little snippy about it here, but this was happening in real time. Every single day historians were sharing like a screenshot, save, do what you can to preserve what record is here, because at the time
Mhm.
we didn't know that they would be put back up again. And it was only because there was enough people that spoke up about them and were like, no, we see
There
what
was
you're
enough
doing, knock it off.
backlash.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. No, we're not going to stand for that.
And then the gaslighting of it all is so weird. Like, no, there are no Epstein files. I got another one yesterday that was like Trump's new EPA, or the Trump administration EPA, now says that greenhouse gases are safe for humans. That was the news headline I got yesterday from the administration.
Did you know our sister planet was often called Venus? The reason for that is when we sent it's going to have a point. When we sent topographical mapping equipment to Venus, it looked like there were continents, like what we have here.
Cute.
Therefore, Venus was going to be our new Earth. Eventually, when technology got better and we showed up to Venus, we realized Venus is literally a hell planet. We could never live on Venus with those because it doesn't physically have, like, you would breathe the air even being close to it and you would immediately die, let alone the heat that that planet contains. All of them are greenhouse gases. Fun fact. So, it's literally like sitting inside of a kiln. We're talking in Fahrenheit, or what I call freedom units, it's like 4,000 degrees. We only measure in eagles in America.
Yeah.
Eagles, Budweiser beer. No, what's
And
an
football
American beer?
fields.
Pabst Blue Ribbon. They have football fields, damn it.
Budweiser.
Anyway. And Budweiser. Who's owned by a Belgian company now, ironically enough. Anyway, so, or at least they were. I don't know about now. So it's like sitting in a 4,000 degree kiln. And if you don't believe me, I learned this in college in an astronomy class, which was the coolest fucking class ever. Anyway, greenhouse gases are not only harmful, they are deadly. At high concentrations, right? You know, so like depending upon how the concentration of the atmosphere that you're on, you'd also be crushed by the amount of gravity on Venus, but that's a whole other thing. Just saying, greenhouse gases, i.e. bad, is you a little skull and crossbones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the EPA,
Not good.
NASA, like all these different climate and science pillars of research and data have been having their funding cut. Scientists are getting fired, like hundreds of scientists and the staff are getting laid off. A lot of funding's been cut for future research, especially if it pertains to like most things that again are considered anti-American or divisive ideology. National climate assessments, these are huge changes that have happened on their web pages as well. Even like medically, cancer research, the funding has like been slashed as well as like
we were all in the same tour. We're like, yeah, use it.
I just like, oh my gosh. And CDC guidance on like reproductive rights, even, you know, like all this and COVID, long COVID, postpartum depression. These are all different things that have been altered or just like heavily edited
Erased.
or deleted across the board. And again, again, people are going in trying to like take screenshots because this is kind of currently what's going on over the last couple of months. It's been a lot of purging of climate and science data.
Yeah.
There've been
taking note of what was there.
Yeah. Huge data sets on police violence, racial justice, LGBTQ.
So we'll be set back
health.
A lot, basically, if you you lose a lot of progress.
Yeah, it's like all like everything that we know is getting deleted. The public, it's dangerous for the public, right? Like, you know, I mean, even if you're like looking at, okay, let's say like racial justice or police violence, or even like LGBTQIA plus public health, even if that was something that you're like, I could take it or leave it, or
not
whatever,
involved in or hasn't been affected by,
right. Or you have opinion that's like anti that, right? You know somebody that's probably, I would think you would know somebody that's had cancer, has cancer, has some sort of chronic disease, or has some sort of terminal
or you
disease,
could have it one day,
or you yourself, right? Like there's certain stuff for like, even if like on a social level, you're like, yeah, that's not my bag, baby. I'm actually, I'm pro those things. And I'm glad that they're getting rid of that data. Okay. But like when you're looking at climate science, things that directly and medicine, like things that will directly affect you or someone you love in your lifetime. And like, you know what I mean? Like that's, I don't know, maybe that's maybe I have too big of empathy or feeling, but being like, hey, like, why does that have to go? Like, why should you be okay with that? Because these are things that are going to affect everybody. You know, even if you're like, that doesn't affect me, quote unquote, all of it does. If you're purging everything, all of it
does affect you. It does. And I'm going to tell you why.
Thank you.
It affects you because it affects the way this entire society identifies with its culture, which means America loses its whole identity. It's an identity erasure, and that's why it affects you.
Yeah.
So just putting that out there, because that was the whole point of the erasure of history. When it happens, it's like a landslide, dude, or like, you know, like a snowball. You ever played Crash Bandicoot? And when it like starts to get into a big thing and it just starts rolling, and when it doesn't stop rolling, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, like when you're building a snowman, right? And pretty soon it just gets so big you can't stop it. That's momentum. And that's usually a problem.
Yeah. Yeah. So folks, keep an eye out. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other, because there's some weird stuff happening. Especially if you're an American listener, you know, like keep your finger on the pulse of
even if you're
history.
not an American listener.
Well, no, I mean, I'm just saying like this is what's going on right now in America. But yeah, you're right. I mean, Germany's got having some in Italy. My God, watch out, guys.
Yep,
they're telling us like watch out.
Well, it's almost like we've never like. Yeah, it's almost like we've never like. Oh, wait a second. I'm pretty sure I've read this before.
Right.
Yeah, it sounds pretty familiar.
And again, like I said earlier at the beginning of this, my loyalties is to the histories, not the left or the right or the political party or whatever. It is to the people. It's making sure that people in their histories
Mm-hmm.
are spoken about and recorded, that there's not censorship, that there's not,
We
regardless
support
of what the
people, not
history is, right?
institutions.
Right, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I also
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't want people to be papering over the Ku Klux Klan
Nope.
or Jim Crow laws or Confederate history, right? Like I don't
Mm-hmm.
think
Yep.
like that shouldn't be papered over from the other side. You know what I
Nope.
mean?
We got to talk
Like
about it.
if that knowledge is power, really. Like when you're able to understand fully what happened, there's accountability, right? We have the knowledge of past injustices, and for all the people, especially, I mean, I can only speak within this country here. When
Mm-hmm.
there are so many different kinds of people living here that they're losing
Mm-hmm.
access to knowledge of their histories, their people, their also past injustices against them too. But folks, when history vanishes, so does the accountability. When history vanishes, the marginalized stay in the margins or stay erased. When history vanishes, power and memory are hand in hand, and controlling the memory shapes the identity, shapes the narrative.
It's about the people. It's
Mm-hmm.
like sometimes it's hard to be proud as an American when like, we talk about things like eugenics, stuff like that. Sometimes it's tough. It's like, man, sometimes we're really the bad guys.
Mm-hmm.
Um Salem witch trials and whatnot. Um Erasure of women, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, even going back, I did a story on witches. I encourage all of you. It's really a history of women.
Mm-hmm.
I encourage you all to listen to. They're erasing women's identities so that they are always in the background and never, at the forefront.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but there are things that I really do like things that I do believe in as an American, i.e., life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, which is something that is afforded to every American. It's important. And we safeguard those values by being outspoken, by making sure we protest. We have a history of protest music. You should go look at that. We as Americans, this is who we are.
With that though, and you're starting with that, and I just kind of want to rewind back to that point that you're making.
Mm-hmm.
I also want to say that, like, recognizing when people, trying to put this as best I can, recognizing when your country, wherever you may live in the world, whether when your country or the people that are running your country, whatever administration or person in power that might be, when history is being erased because it doesn't support a nationalistic narrative, I think, well, not only is that dangerous in a lot of ways, but like there's this sort of narrative of like, oh, we shouldn't talk about those things because it's shameful. And like Elon Musk was saying
Mm-hmm.
this to Germany a couple of months ago or a few months back, where it was something like, Germans are too, along the lines of like, you're too stuck in the past, you're too embarrassed about your past, and you don't need to do that anymore. You shouldn't have to do that. You shouldn't have to keep being upset about what happened in the past. And Germany is held up, in talking about like Nazi Germany and education and talking about the Holocaust. Germany is held up as the example for the world of like how we talk about past injustices, how we deal with them, how
Mm-hmm.
we educate the future, and they always have been since then. And
It was a big one. It's kind of
I,
hard to avoid it though. I mean, it was big. Like again,
yeah,
they pulled like the whole world into it. Japan got pulled in, Russia got pulled in, the US got pulled in. Like
right. But
it's
a
a big
lot of
one.
countries, if they've done bad things, they've pushed them under the rug. Operation Legacy,
You can't do that.
How America views slavery, how America has
Mm-hmm.
viewed the genocide of the indigenous peoples here. Like all these things, like a lot of
Mm-hmm.
countries like to push it under the rug because it's uncomfortable or it makes us, quote unquote, look like the bad guy. America, we're not the bad guy. We don't want to be the bad guy here. And it's like, no, no, no. no country's the good guy, right? You know what I mean? Like no country
Right.
has a history that is sanitized and gorgeous and beautiful. It hasn't done wrong. Like
No.
no person has, right? So how can we expect
No.
a
Mm-mm.
country of
It's
people to do that?
impossible.
So
Correct.
I worry about people being like, oh well, we shouldn't be, you know, we should always be
Yeah.
focused on the things we did right. It's like, no, you learn then, and it doesn't mean that you hate America or you hate your country because of pointing out things that it's done wrong. It's almost like you love
Mm-hmm.
somebody and you're going to hold them accountable and be like, hey, let's do better so we can all have a better life going forward. It's accountability.
Right.
It's not, hey, let's
It's
sit and
learning from
wallow
the
in the shame of
past,
our
not
past.
yeah, not doing that rumination, right?
Yeah.
That gets you nowhere. Like you
Right.
said, it's the learning. It's being like, "Whoa, that was so fucked up." Like we all do it as kids, right? Like there's
Mm-hmm.
all kinds of things that we do as kids that like I mean, I can think of a couple different examples now of things that would probably horrify you that I did as a child, and it's like, tell you what, I never did it again. It's
Mm-hmm.
true. It's
Yeah.
true. Yeah, and that's that where self-hatred gets you nowhere. Bring that back around.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
it's true. If you don't look at your mistakes, again, like you said, that everybody makes them. There is no country that has a beautifully sanitized history. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it just doesn't exist. Like territory disputes and domination and imperialism and colonization are literally written into human DNA. I'm just gonna say it. Like that
Mm.
was, again, what we were saying earlier. Like it's literally it just hasn't stopped. It's been since the dawn of time of
Mhm.
mankind. It's like it's a thing. But that's the evolving, right? Is
Right, yeah.
the learning and doing better. And that's the super important part.
Yeah, no, you've got it exactly right, Katie. Thank you. And I know, folks, this has been a lot of a lot of information, a lot of passionate feelings. I certainly don't want you to feel like either of us are like preaching at you or anything like that. We're mad at the erasure of
No,
history. And again, if that gets your back up or you feel like
just
we're being
yeah.
unfair, I just want you to
Just
sit in that. And like I said, we have all of our sources here. There's a paper trail for all these things. You can go back and you can look. And I want you to be like, okay, now when I am listening to history or taking it in any way, um, understand like what am I maybe not hearing here? What part of the history
mhm.
is not here? And
Mhm.
be be looking for that and be hoping to get the full and complete picture. Because again, like I said, history isn't neutral and it isn't equitable either. So
Mm-mm.
that's what I'm going to be
Mm-mm.
doing the rest of the season. Not this. Like I said, like today, I really want to like really be like fucking history's erasure, guys. Does it just grind my gears? I'm gonna.
Right?
Um, so you got a little bit of angry Laurel and passionate Laurel today. I hope that's all right. But the rest of the season, what I'm going to be doing is highlighting and celebrating these histories that were deleted or were deleted and like brought back again, like as a oops, we didn't mean to do that.
Mhm.
But I want to celebrate these people in events in history, to hold them up as like, hey, this is a
Mhm.
more complete history,
Important.
and this is what the government doesn't want you to know. It feels a bit subversive, doesn't it? Ooh, shoulder shuffle. There,
Mm.
you little
A little
rebel,
bit like a
you.
pirate radio.
Mm, yeah. So here's what
Mm.
the governments don't want you to know, folks. But this is what's been erased history, and we want to make sure that we keep this history fresh, keep it going. And really, I mean, it's nothing new. This is not just an American right now thing. This is something that's happened throughout
Uh-huh.
history, from ancient Rome to the digital age. History gets erased by those in power, whether it be with chisels or bonfires or with a keyboard. And my mission this season is to try and recover some of those lost or nearly lost chapters. All right. We love you. We're happy to be back, folks. We're going to be back again in a couple of weeks with Katie's story. And Katie probably might keep, I don't know. She's always, it's a surprise every time, like I said, but she might keep it light and easy to help like kind of lift you up in the meantime, but she can bring whatever she wants to bring to the table. But that's what I'm going to be doing.
I'll
Yeah.
see. I'll see
Mhm.
what strikes my fancy. I
See what you think.
might want to keep you on your toes.
We'll be back again in a couple of weeks. In the meantime, make sure that you're going over to our social media. I'm going to get back up to posting over there. I've been a whole lazy
We had a summer break, okay? It was a true break.
I needed a break. Oh my gosh. But I'll be back up over there on Instagram at High Tales of History, or on TikTok at High Tales of History Pod. All of our show notes, all of our sources, everything is all listed in our show notes. Sorry, all of our social media handles and all of our sources are listed in our show notes. It's been a long episode, guys.
There you go.
Anyway, but until a couple weeks from now, get money, get high, give love, and
with love, those who don't know history are doomed to repeat it.
Know your history. Bye-bye.
Bye.